All right, hello everyone. So today we're going to go over some of the new stuff here in Prism 7.2, and I know we've had some audio issues before, so if there's anything going on with that, do let me know for sure. Thank you, Alan. So let's see here. It appears that there is an update. So my Mac is freaking out at the moment, but so I wanted to kind of take a look at the Contoso Cookbook here. This is one of the samples in the sample repo. You know, that repo that everybody says we don't actually have, but we really do, I swear. Yeah. Good Lord, this thing is taking forever. I'm going to close that. So let me come in here to the NuGet package manager. And we'll see kind of what updates there are. There are probably a bunch of updates out, to be honest. So let's see, where are we actually at? Let's see what needs to be updated here. So we're on 3.2. It's been a while since we've updated this, I can tell. I think, for crying out loud, I don't care anymore. So let's go ahead and update xamarin.forms here to the latest stable. We'll go crazy with 4.0. Yes, we want to go ahead and do that. You know, I love how it asks, you know, do you accept these, the licenses, like you really have a choice, you know. And it's going to make me do it more than once. Okay. I love this bug in Visual Studio. You all watched me. I said update. It did 2 out of the 4. So we'll just keep doing update until it tapes for everything, right? Okay. So what did we get this time? Second go. Really? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so it did update one of them. So let's. Third time is the charm, right? Because there's only one project left. You know, I don't know how any of this passes QA. I'll be really honest. Okay, let me mute that. Did this not? Come on. Set install. Or is this not going to take? It's obvious because QA. Ain't that the truth? Which I don't know how you could only use 2 projects for Xamarin, because I mean you have more than 2 platform heads, but you know, whatever. What do I know? Which one is freaking out? It's the droid. Okay, well, let me unload this. I will do this manually then. And actually, let me open up another browser window so I can copy paste. NuGet. I guess I could have done the forms material, same version number. Okay. Okay, and we'll go find the xamarin.forms on here. Right there. Okay. And hopefully that's good. I guess while I'm here, I could update these too, because why not, right? The nice thing on the 28 packages is they do actually cross-compile, so they're compatible even if you haven't upgraded your target framework. Theoretically, anyway. So, might as well do that. Go for broke here. Okay. So now that that's up to date, I guess we'll probably go through this all over again with Prism. Load that. Okay. So now let's install the latest preview bits here on Prism 7.2. Okay. And yes. Oh, I forgot this uses Unity. I feel so dirty using Unity. Oh boy. It's the same problem again. What is up with this Android project today? Oh my. Let me launch my Zero. Okay. Oh, no, it actually did take. Okay, good. So, one of the things, and actually I'm not even sure how much we did in here. View model base. What do we have in view model base? Oh, perfect. Okay. So, this is going to demonstrate perfectly. I did not plan this out at all. I never planned anything. So, you have view model base, which implements iNavigation aware. And in here you have, of course, onNavigated from, onNavigated to, onNavigating to. And you'll notice from Code Lens here that onNavigated from and onNavigated to have 0 references. But we do actually have 2 references to onNavigating to because we are overriding them in our pages, right? Well, in Prism 7.2, this is going to create a bit of a problem for you. You'll notice that we do not have a compile time error here because iNavigating aware was simply removed from iNavigation aware. And part of the reason why is if we'll actually add iNavigating aware, you'll actually see that this not only shows up that it's deprecated, but it's going to give us an error. So I couldn't even compile this if I wanted to with iNavigating aware. And really kind of what this came down to was a lot of people use iNavigation aware. And if we left it in as part of iNavigation aware, you would see an issue where now everybody's having to implement this method that's actually obsolete. And that's just retarded, in my opinion. So we pulled it from iNavigation aware. And since we were already committing a pretty big behavioral break on that, we went ahead and also made this a error if you try to implement it. So, of course, the workaround is to just simply implement iNitialize, and then we can come in here and since the tooling doesn't entirely suck on this, we can say initialize, we can rename that, and it'll update for everything else in our project. And so just like that, now that should be working and our view models will initialize. Let me go ahead and set my Droid as the startup project here, and we'll deploy this to my phone. And that's right, Alan, this is the phone that blows up with the camera. So let's see, we'll launch the previewer here. Okay. So we'll go ahead and run this. I always feel like there should be Jeopardy music on the build. So, you know, you hit build in Visual Studio, and then you should like get that whole Jeopardy theme, like for Final Jeopardy, where you're just like waiting for them to figure out the answer. You know, maybe I got to come up with good music, I think, just for the Twitch stream in general. So. Chase, iNavigation aware doesn't force you to implement. It's Android tooling at this point, yeah. So Chase, if I'm understanding your question, iNavigation aware used to force you to implement iNavigating to. If you were to add it to a brand new view model today in Prism 7.2, you will only get onNavigated from and onNavigated to. You will no longer see iNavigating to, or I'm sorry, onNavigating to rather. Oh boy, I think this might be one of those builds that like takes 5 minutes. Always hate when you get in those problems there. Hopefully this will go a little faster here. I guess this is kind of a cold build, so it does have to do a bit more. This is not an incremental build. Okay. Yeah, Alan, I know. It is time. The problem is the MacBook Pro is probably about $5 grand that I've spec'd out, so. All right. Yeah. Okay. Does Prism still look for on navigating to, or are we? You're forced to refactor. You know, Brian and I spent a lot of time when I was kind of visiting him a few months ago, going over this exact issue and trying to figure out what to do about this on navigating to issue. And as we went around and around, I mean, we know that the community was very clear that, you know, iNavigating to was not working for people. And people were thinking that it should work in scenarios that it was never meant to work. And so it needed to be pulled out. And if we just simply made on navigating to obsolete, then you would be forced to implement an obsolete interface. So that's really not a good user story. And we really struggled with that one. So it simply became, we had to remove iNavigating aware from iNavigation aware, so that way you weren't implementing this obsolete interface. But if we were already committing that rather harsh break, then it just made sense for us to go ahead and make the whole thing something that's going to give you a compile time error if you're directly implementing iNavigating aware. So unfortunately, there's no way for us to catch that unless maybe we write an analyzer, which is something we could certainly look at doing. But that would be in a separate sprint or a separate process. In any case, so we've now updated to Prism 7.2. We have on, or actually iNitialize set up here. And so we can do this. Now, I want to have a little bit more fun. And I will bet you almost anything. Let's see. That's whatever. But we probably have, let's see, a recipe. So here's actually one of those really beautiful things where, you know, and I think it was actually Alan that brought this up. Here I am implementing the initialize method simply to get one property out of the parameters and then set that property. We do have an async version, so let me go ahead. I always hate that. I don't know if anyone else does that. I go to hit stop, and instead of stop, I get the the rebuild. Okay, stop, cancel. Okay, so I'm gonna remove that because I don't even know why that's there. But we do have, if you needed to do some sort of asynchronous task, there is iNitialize Async, so you can actually now do that. Just keep in mind, if you do that, that is going to potentially create a delay for you before the page loads. So you're going to want to make sure that if you're using that iNitialize Async, and actually the same is true if you're using iConfirm Navigation Async, you want to make sure that you're using some sort of overlay with a busy indicator to give your user that experience that, hey, I didn't just ignore you when you tapped on this, you know, button. We are doing something and we'll be right with you, right? So kind of keep that in mind. But what I'm going to do here, which I think is a lot more fun, is I'm going to go ahead, I auto initialize. And so I think I demoed this a little bit last time with the last preview. And at that time, auto-initialize was actually in the navigation namespace. That is actually changed now. And I'll kind of go into why that's changed in a minute. But you can do this auto-initialize now. And we will maybe... Okay. So you'll see it's actually in the... Oh, I didn't spell it right too. But it is in the app model namespace. So this is a marker interface, but one of the things that's really great, so you'll see that the parameter name or the key is recipe, and you'll see that the property name is recipe. It's just, you know, it's title cased. This is camel case, right? I mean, you can't really tell because there's not like a second word to make capital, but so this is all like lowercase. This is title case, of course. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete all of that code right there. And now we're done. And we can relaunch this. And we should see that same recipe pop up. So there's really nothing here except a single property implementing, you know, yes, it is very cool. So you have just this one single property that's implementing iNotify property changed. Oops. Where did visor go? Okay. Low visor. Where did I break? Okay. That took a minute. So we'll go ahead and click on one of these. So we'll say carrot salad. And now on this recipe page, you'll see that we have our full recipe. There is virtually no code. Our entire view model is a single property inside of that view model, and it all just works. So I think that's pretty darn cool. I don't know about anybody else. So now one of the other fun things that we can do, and I'll have to stop this again, is what do you do if, you know, maybe this has a unique name, right? Maybe it's not... it is, yes, it is less code. So, you know, maybe, you know, we actually are expecting a key, you know, of foo, right? The programmer's favorite to go back to. So if I have this auto initialize property on my property and I give it a string, it's actually going to look for that as the key within our navigation parameters rather than the name of the property itself. And it'll try to do that to match it. But there is another scenario which I think is also really nice. So, and I guess maybe I should try to get the IntelliSense going. So we'll see there's a Boolean for is required. So if I pass this a true Boolean, now this is saying that the recipe is required. And if for whatever reason we didn't pass it in, the navigation would fail and we would be able to see that you know, in our navigation result. So just another really kind of fun thing there that's in Prism 7.2. But now, let me see here. Let me, actually, I guess, I don't really want to mess around with the view model too much. So let me do this. Let me create a new XAML view. Yeah. Well, and Chase, remember, this is not something that's for everybody. Not everybody is going to use it, and you're not going to use it in every single view model. It's just something that is there to help you in the situations where it makes sense. So, in general, I think it's kind of a bad practice to go with like crazy naming, but where I think that the auto initialize attribute is very useful is to say, hey, we expect this, you know, property to always be set. If this is missing from the navigation parameters, we need to throw some sort of exception. We need to be able to catch that. So that is where I think it's more helpful, and it just allows you to write a lot less code. Let's see here. So I am going to now create a content view, and we're going to call this an alert dialog. Okay. And let's see here. So go with a grid. Let's go with a box view just to kind of give us a background. Oops, not black here. Okay. And then we'll come up with a label. We'll say that the text is, you know, our title. We'll give that a color of white so we can actually read it. Okay. And then let's see here. We'll have another label, and we'll call this, we'll just say text, right? Or maybe message. Let's call it message. Okay, and then, well, we don't need to set the text color, but we're going to set the row. So we'll set that. And then last but not least, we'll do a button. Say OK. Do a binding for dismiss command. Okay. Auto initialize might be a challenge for developers to discover or understand. It's not explicit in its purpose. I'd be very curious what's not explicit to you about that, Chase. I mean, definitely let me know what you're thinking on what's confusing about that. Let me actually give this a row as well. What does it mean? Well, we're keeping the same initialize name, right? So just like you have initialize async. So this is just, it's automatically initializing for you. I mean, I think it makes sense, but I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one and it's because I wrote it. Okay. So we have a pretty simple view here. Let's go ahead and create a view model for this. Okay, so we'll say alert dialog view model. Okay, we'll make this come from bindable base. And yeah, okay. So title. Okay. And you will see I actually did install the Prism template pack because I got sick and tired of doing this all manually. Message. Okay. Then we'll say we want a delegate command, right? I think we called it dismiss command. Okay, dismiss command. Okay. So pretty simple here. Not a whole lot to this. And then so we need to create ourselves a constructor. New delegate command. Just do that as a placeholder for now. Okay, so now here is the one thing I really need to do. I need, what was it? Dialog aware. You know, we really like our aware interfaces in Prism. So now I have my iDialog aware, which is in the Prism Services Dialogs namespace. And I will go ahead and implement this. What happens if you navigate to a view model which has auto-initialize, you pass some parameters, but it's unable to find properties for it? Is that what the attribute with true? Well, yeah. So basically, by default, if you have properties that aren't in the parameters or parameters that don't have a matching property, it just continues on and doesn't care. If you have that attribute and you pass true, and you didn't have a matching parameter for that property, then it'll throw an exception, so that way you can catch that wherever you were navigating from, and then you can surface some sort of dialogue or alert or whatever that you want to do. However you need to handle that, you can handle that from there. So why would someone pass parameters which has no properties? I'm not sure I really understand. I mean, what do you mean which have no properties? I'm not really sure I follow you there, Andre. In any case, so we have just a couple of things here that came in from iDialog aware. So you have your request close event. You have a method here for can close dialog. So I'm going to keep this really simple, and I'm just going to return true. I don't care about any lookup logic on this one. For my dialog closed, don't really care about anything. And because I'm lazy and I like auto-initialize, I'm also going to bring that in. So, and this is really why that got moved out of the navigation namespace, is so that way the dialogues can also take advantage of them. So you'll see now I don't have to do anything. I don't care about my onDialog open because I don't have to look at the dialog parameters. I can just keep this all very, very simple. Okay, let me see here. So I mean, I navigate to the view model with a value, but I don't have a property for it. Why would I do that? I don't know why you would do that. I suppose it could be, you know, something like you could have a situation where what you're passing in your navigation parameters would be an ID, and then you're going to use that ID from the navigation parameters and then use some service that you've injected to look up whatever element it is, whatever the model is, for that ID that you're checking for. By default, if I shouldn't throw an error if it didn't find a... Yeah, well, you know, I mean, Andre, again, this is not something that's going to be for everyone. You may not want to use it on every single view model. In fact, you probably don't want to use it on every single view model. Where you do want to probably use it are ones that are stupid simple, where it, you know, you have just busy work, right? So, like for this, do I really want to take the time to explicitly go in and get the message and get the title and then set that? Yeah, I mean, it's needless code, whereas I can just very simply put a marker interface on my view model and it just happens automatically, right? So, and you may be thinking that that's maybe a little too much magic for you, and I understand that too. So I'm going to look at auto-initialize, and there's my favorite Easter egg of all. So yes, I fully appreciate that there is a lot of magic here, which is why auto-initialize is really abracadabra. So, little Easter egg for you. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. It's awesome for... Okay. In any case, so yeah, we've kept this very simple. There's very little actual code in here. So the only thing I need to do is in my dismiss command, I'm just going to take my request close and I'm going to pass it some parameters. I can also not pass it anything because I don't care, right? there's really nothing to do here. So actually I really hate that. I mean, let me get rid of the placeholder. Okay, so all I'm going to do here, my delegate command, is just raise my request close. That's it. I'm not doing anything else. Yeah, exactly, Alan. It just reduces boilerplate. You know, and it occurs first, as I recall. So you can use iAutoInitialize and iInitialize or iInitialize Async. So that way, you just the boilerplate of, oh, I have like 3 properties in my navigation parameters that I need to set. You can get rid of that task, and now those properties are already set for you, and you can do what you need to do, you know, beyond that. So it's just to make it a lot simpler. Okay, so that is that, and then the only thing we need to do now is we need to register it, but we're not going to register it for navigation. So we are instead, I hate IntelliSense sometimes, container registry. Okay, so we are going to register a dialog. So you'll notice we have a new extension here, register dialog. Very similar to register for navigation, except it will not accept a page type. It has to be a view. And so we're going to pass in the alert dialog. And I can also pass in the alert dialog view model if I want to be explicit. This could also be very helpful, by the way, if you know, say you wanted to not follow the Prism convention, where you have all of your views in the views namespace and the view models in the view models namespace. Maybe you want all the pages that you're navigating to be in a pages namespace, and you want all of the dialogues in a dialogues namespace. So you could very easily do that, and then that will, of course, map it out so you get the correct view and view model. All right, so let's go ahead and give you a way to maybe show this. So, okay, I'll throw in a button here. Oh, and I guess there is one other thing I should do. Prism, IOC. Well, it made sense at the time. Anyway, so we're going to use one of my favorites here. So you can just now do this, you know, declared namespace of the prismlibrary.com. And I'm going to rename that to Prism. So now you get a few things for free here. So let's keep going, and we'll say show alert. Okay. And for our command, you'll see that we get a few different things here. So we have our go back, our navigate to. There's a parameter, select tab, and show dialog. So I guess I should probably kind of go into some of these things here. 7.2, you know, because of the new dialog support, there's been a little bit that has really changed. So one of the things is just because we have so many XAML extensions, thanks to Chase for starting this all off. I believe it was Chase that did the initial PR. Maybe it's not. I don't remember it anymore. Anyway, so I've added a select tab, so you can now select tab directly from XAML with that extension. You can also do your parameters, but we've changed the parameters a little bit. Now, you could do this before with the navigation parameters. There was a specific navigation parameters type that you could use in XAML that you could bind properties to. That actually fully works now without you having to specify the source, which is really nice. But because we have these two different types of parameters, the dialog parameters and the navigation parameters, we've kind of abstracted that out a little bit. So when you're in XAML, we're just going to simply use the parameters. Now the navigation parameters is still there if you would like to use them. They're just obsolete. You know, at some point we'll probably pull them out. But the goal is to kind of make it very simple. Like, we're just passing parameters. That's what this is. You know, it's a command parameter anyway, is usually the property we see. So just kind of keep note of that. That is supported here in XAML for the dialog as well as our navigation. But I'm going to go ahead here and use this show dialog. And I'm going to do the alert dialog, I believe is what we called it, right? Now I can do that, and basically I'm done. Oh, I guess I got to move this up. I'm not inside of the stack layout. Okay. Okay, so we got that. So we should be able to run this now, and we'll see an empty dialog. It won't have a title. It will not have a message because it hasn't been set anywhere. But we should at least, and I'm on the recipe page, okay. But we should at least see a dialog pop up. And by the way, if someone wants to do a PR where we add a you know, a loading activity to the Android project, I would not be opposed. I will merge it. Just throwing that out there. All right, so we have our button here, show alert. Oh, argument null. Which bit of markup extension did you say you were considering? Okay, the navigation parameters, which is not really a markup extension. It's just a bindable object for providing our parameters. Okay, let's see. So I had something null that shouldn't have been. But let's see here. Alert dialog, okay. Yeah, the class that we use to pass a collection of parameters. So it's not that the concept is going away. The concept is very much remaining the same. What is changing is just we're going to make it generic, where it's simply parameters instead of being explicitly navigation parameters. My thinking on that is just that it starts to become a little confusing when you have the dialog parameters and the navigation parameters in XAML. It's easier just to tell everybody, use parameters, and now you have one single thing to worry about. I suppose if people really think that I'm way off base on that, we can reconsider it. Okay, well, I guess let's maybe try this here. Let me do, oops, I do a string here. So let me do the title is hello, and message equals hello world. Oops, no, can't do that. Hello. Oh, yeah. Okay, just sharing my thoughts. My observation, okay. Instead of having to set the attribute in order to get the error when you don't have the property, it should throw the error by default without the need for the attribute to be set. Well, see, the problem, Andre, is you may only have a single property that you need to set. Like, you could have other properties in your view model that aren't initialized by the navigation parameters. For example, maybe you have some sort of collection of strings or something that you're going to bind to a picker, and these are like static values. You know, they don't really change. Granted, you could do that from XAML too, but you may still have that in your view model. So if we're looking and that's not, we don't have a property to set that, that would be a really bad thing to just automatically throw the exception. So it's a lot better for you to opt in to an exception than to tell you need to opt out. Just my 2 cents. Let me try to replay this here. I don't know what was null that it didn't like. No. The title, message. Oh, for crying out loud. Parameter name dictionary. Well, that's fun. Okay. Well, I don't feel like messing around with that right now. I don't know what's going on with that. I will show you that in a minute when I make this work. Just let me try to... It's entirely possible I missed something in my testing here. So let me get rid of the marker interface for a minute. We'll do this the more traditional way. So we'll say the title. Let me get that from the... So we'll go title, boom, okay, and then message, string, message, okay. Let's try that. I know this should work. I know I got a message from Hussein last night that he had been trying it out on something he was working on. So I know it does work. But there may be a bug, I guess, in the XAML extension, which would be weird. Tested that pretty thoroughly, I thought. Oh, we're still getting that null. Okay, well, let me see here. I wasn't going to do this, but let me change this to include the dialog service. In any case, you should be able to. I don't know what the problem is right now, and we don't really have time to look into it. I do at least want to point out that this does support the query string. Real quick, I can show how the parameters will work. So, well, here, button, that is visible. Command parameter. So there are actually several ways that this can work. So first of all, I can just pass a single parameter. So if I wanted to say key is title and the value is hello, I can do that. And it will just pass that single parameter. But let's say instead I want to pass multiple. Instead of that query string that we see up there, I want to pass like a collection of parameters. So I can just do my parameters, and now I can, pass multiple in here. So I can say, message. And keep in mind too, one other thing I should mention. All of the parameters that we use in Prism 7 are an enumerable of key value pairs, which gives you the benefit that you can actually duplicate keys, right? That's how we make tab navigation work, is allowing you to duplicate the same key over and over. So if you wanted to send a collection of something in, you can do this as well. So that is just kind of how you would do that. In any case, let me kind of back some of this out, and I'm just going to do it from the binding, we'll say show alert command, because I have no memory. I'm going to copy it. Okay. And recipe page. So we'll say we'll bring these in. No, you're not the only one, Andre. You're not the only one that thinks it's horrendous. Okay. So we'll say new delegate command, and then so here is where we'll say the dialog service dot show dialog, and we want the alert dialog. So this actually kind of gives us a chance, I guess, to see the full API in action. You'll notice that there are a few extensions on this. The actual interface itself declares a couple properties here, so we can pass in the name, dialog parameters, and then some sort of callback action that we want to perform when the dialog has closed. So just kind of, I guess, for full brevity here, we'll pass everything in. So we'll say dialog parameters. Let's see. Got a title, or title is hello, and the message was the other one. Okay, and then for our callback, we'll say on dialog closed. Now you may be wondering why we don't have some sort of interface on this, and the reason is very simple. You may actually want to call multiple dialogues from a single page. So we don't specifically require anything from you. You can do whatever you need. We give you that flexibility on this. So let's go ahead and try and run this. Hopefully this will work this time. If it doesn't, I may pull my hair out and go gray. So Andre, what are you thinking on the C data? I'm kind of curious on that one. What is it you would want to use the C data for, which I think is ugly in itself, but are you thinking of putting like C# code or something in that? Okay. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Argument null. So you'll see value cannot be. Where did this come from? Stack trace. We didn't cover like a 4.0 bug. I think we did. Yeah, but we're not, there really is no dictionary here, so I'm not sure what's going on. Let me maybe back this down to 3.6. I know 3.6 was working fine when I tried that. of course, there is the issue that we had all that trouble in the beginning upgrading. So let me copy this and use VS Code to cheat. Okay, so you gotta open this up in VS Code. Samples forms. Okay. Okay, so do a little, I guess I can bring this over here. Not going to hurt at this point. So we're going to search for 461. And we'll go ahead and do the replacement. Done. Okay. Now that should, of course, ask for a reload. Hey, Hussein. Actually, since Hussein is on here, I should ask, did you run into a dictionary exception, a null reference or something with a dictionary on the dialog service? Because we're running into that this morning. Yeah. So Chase, we actually, I pulled out the auto initialize because I was kind of concerned that it might be something like that myself. So I'm not really sure what the problem is. Can we try to debug it quickly? Couldn't use the indexed key. Okay. So Hussein, you're talking about that, right? What are you talking about? Oh, that didn't work. Yeah. Yeah, no, actually, I kind of expect that not to work. It's kind of bad. We don't know what the type is, right? So whenever you're using that index key, we're just returning a generic object, and then you have to cast it, which is a terrible practice, in my humble opinion. And so more to try to encourage the use of get value instead is where we're now just returning the get value, or kind of encouraging you to use that. It's still available on navigation parameters as a legacy issue, but it's not included in the interface for dialog parameters. Okay, so that is building. Yeah, actually, Chase, I really like the try get value even better, because if you can simultaneously set the property and or have the property to work with, and then respond to it not being there, or whatever you need to do. we were getting a null reference on a dictionary from, it looked like it was actually coming from xamarin.forms itself. It's the first time I've run it with 4.0, so I think that might be the issue. Dev Eddie, thank you for the follow. Okay, yeah, see, that was totally the issue, because now we don't have a problem at all. Other than styling. So there's apparently a bug in 4.0 that was causing us all kinds of grief. So that's good to know. Let's see. I am going to make this background color white. And, you know, one other thing here is I'm going to give this a style dynamic resource. We'll call it the title style. And let's go ahead and give this a padding of like, actually no, we don't want to give that the padding. So we'll say margin, or no, do 15. Okay. No, that's fine. And then we'll give this also a margin here. Okay. That way it looks a little bit nicer for everybody. So yeah, no problem at all with xamarin.forms 3.6, which is actually what it's built and tested with. But there seems to be some sort of issue, which I'll have to reach out to the Xamarin team on for 4.0. Unless someone from the Xamarin team is silently watching, in which case, hello. Okay. So we'll do our show alert here. So now we see our dialog. Now one thing that is easier to see now that we have, you know, a little bit more styling in here is this is only as large as the content, right? That's our default in Xamarin.Forms, which I understand, but you know, it looks kind of ugly, right? So let's kind of play with this a little bit more. And actually, just because I'm anal about these sorts of things, I'm going to center that title. But let's see, we need the Prism namespace, so let me bring that in here. I guess we can stop it. We don't need that running. We'll bring in the Prism namespace, and then we're going to do a couple things here. So one of the things that I want to do is I want it to be consistent in the way that it looks, right? And I think probably most of the people that are active in chat, you all know I didn't have to specify the control template. Now, actually, I'm not going to use a control template, Chase, but you all do know with the view model locator, I don't have to explicitly set it. I can, but really the only time you would want to do anything like that is to opt out. You don't need anything to opt in. We'll automatically set it for you. But there is this new dialog layout that's available. So you have a few different things here. And the first one that I want to kind of show off is I'm going to do a relative width request. And so I'm going to say I want this to be 0.75 of my page, right? So what this relative request has to do with the size of the page. So you can say, I want this relative to the size of the page of my display. I want it to be, you know, this percentage of the screen. And technically, I actually do support values of, you know, 0 to 100, but you should use decimals because that's what I've tested with. The non-decimals may or may not work. We can test that later. What is that? Pindax, thank you for the follow. All right, so build this here. Where are the docs? The docs should be docs.microsoft.com for the control template. All right. So we'll go ahead and run this again, hit our show dialog, and now you'll see, I think that this looks a lot better, right? So I can respond to what I need to do. I have a nice layout that looks consistent, but I can do a little bit more with this as well. And so actually, let me bring this back up here before I go away. So a couple things. You do notice that there is a mask to kind of give you the idea that, hey, we're doing something. I can hit my OK, and that should dismiss, unless I screwed something up. No. And we should see that this was successful this time, right? Yep. My exception is null. Now, actually, this is, I guess, probably a good thing to kind of mention as well. So you're probably used to the iNavigation result, which does have a Boolean to indicate success. And that's because there can actually be some really weird situations where the exception will be null, but the navigation actually did fail. So this kind of eliminates some of that. But now you get your parameters back, and you get, whether or not there was an exception. You can see that in the result. So we'll kind of continue there. But let's go ahead and I'll stop this. We'll kind of style this a little bit more. So we were centered on the page, but maybe I don't want it quite centered. Maybe I want it to be, up a little bit. So I can pass in layout bounds. This is all working off of an absolute layout. So if you're wondering how do I set the layout bounds, just go read the docs on absolute layout and the layout bounds that are used on that. And it's the exact same, because this is literally what we pass the absolute layout. Chase, I will get to that comment in just a minute. Promise. So I'm going to pass in, let's say, 0.5, we'll say 2.5, and then we'll do a -1, -1. So the -1, if you're not familiar, just tells it to auto size based on what its content is. And so, and this works, of course, with the relative width request, so we can still do that. So now let me go ahead and run this, and we'll see that we've actually moved that dialog up on the screen. So don't worry, Chase, I don't want to throw too much at people at one time. But spoiler alert, already supported. Okay. So we'll bring this up here. Okay. So now you notice before we were down here, we were centered on the page, and we've now moved it up here because we've specified the layout bounds. All right. And actually, I'm wondering if I should do a constant, but yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to get rid of that because I don't really like it. But let's see kind of what else we have here. So maybe I want to say Prism dialog layout mask, right? So maybe I want to specify a very, very specific mask. I can actually do that here. Now there's really no reason to specify a box view because that's already what we're using. But you can do what you need to do. So I'm going to say purple, right? And I'm going to set the opacity to like 0.3. Okay. And if we run that again, we'll see that change. But I do want to kind of hit on what Chase was asking us about. So I'm going to add another set of parameters here. What is it? Known dialog parameters. So you'll see that there is this close on background tapped. So if you were doing this like from the query string or something, it would just be a camel case close on background tapped would be the parameter name. And I'm going to go ahead and say true. And so now, if we run this, we should see two different things. So we'll see that, you know, we have a purple mask, and then we'll also be able to tap outside of the dialog and close the dialog there. So hold on, let's see here. Maybe there's a position enum default top center bottom. You know, the problem is if I did a enum where, you know, I said top center bottom, that kind of thing, it would limit you to you have to put it exactly here, and doing like giving you direct access to specify. No, actually, don't do the layout flags. If you think we should, file an issue, and we can certainly add it. It would not be hard to change. Again, if there are certain properties that you guys would like to see to customize that a little bit more, feel free. You know, definitely go on GitHub, file an issue, and we can discuss possibly adding it there. All right, so we have our dialog up again, and this time you'll see we have a light purple mask instead of that black one. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of click there, and you'll see we got to our on dialog closed, and it's no longer there. So we can very easily close the dialog without specifically having that that OK button or that command that we had to do. So that all can be handled for you. And you'll notice as well that we did still get to our callback method over here as well. So that is all good for you there. Let's see here. I will be honest, because my memory is so terrible, I have to go back and look at my own PR. One of these days I'll get around to documenting stuff officially. I think what I will probably do, to be honest, is just give you a constant or something. I think that might make some sense to do, of what the key name is. So there is a default style name right here, which should be easy enough to remember, but I have no memory, so I can't. But there is a style name of Prism Dialog Mask Style. So what this actually does is the dialog service will look in your application resources for that style. If it does not find it, it will add it dynamically at runtime, and then it'll reuse that, you know, on subsequent calls for, you know, whether it's the same dialog or other dialogs. But this is the global default style for that the box view that we use for the mask. Really, where I kind of envision more people using the, you know, the specific, or where is it, the specific mask property right here, where you're saying like, this is the view that I want, is, you know, let's say that you were using something like Aurora Controls and one of their gradient layouts that they have. I think that's probably more where you would want to use something like that. In general, I think you're more going to be apt to either use the style. So you can we can come in here and we can say dialog layout mask style. So maybe you have some style that you want to specify, like, you know, my custom style, right? So that's really what that is designed for, is where you want to say, like, this one dialog needs to use this style specifically. So you can use the mask style. Otherwise, let me kind of get rid of all of that and just come over into the application. And so if we add some resources here, Prism application resources, we'll add a resource dictionary. So now let's say I want a style, and the target type again is a box view. So I can come in here and I can specify that the property is, you know, we'll say background color, right? Oh, I'm not getting IntelliSense because I'm running the, duh. Say background color. And so the value here we'll say is blue. And the setter here we'll say the property is opacity. And 0.5. So of course now the one thing we need to do is give this the Prism dialog. What was that again? I told you I have no memory. Dialog mask style. Thank you. Okay. So now, because I have this set here in the application resources, when we rerun this, this is now going to be globally styling for all of my dialogues. Layout bounds, layout flags, you never look back. So, Chase, the all of the dialog layout stuff is all attached properties. So, you know, if I was going to give you the ability to do layout flags in addition to the layout bounds, then that would just be, you know, part of the dialog layout as an attached property there. So let's go ahead here. So we have our show alert, and of course now you can see here that you know, we have that custom style. So that is the dialog service in a nutshell. Trying to think what else we might have here. Anybody have any questions or anything you want to see on the dialogues? Okay. All right, yeah, I think it's important. I also think you should use the attached property for close on background tapped. So you think that rather than the close on background tapped being a query parameter, we should just do it as an attached property? And I guess the next question would be, should we support both? We want an attached property for that. Okay. We can do that. That's easy to do. Should we support both, though? You sure can. Okay. Parameter overrides property. Okay. Again, if you guys can go to GitHub and file the issues, we can get some work on that. That should certainly be easy enough to do. I'm not opposed to it. I think that that is probably a good idea, honestly. Okay, sorry about that. Problem with putting together a conference is people want to get a hold of you constantly. So spelling is not your first language. Well, you know, Chase, I would imagine being from Canada where you have like 2 national languages. Language is not your language. I'm just messing with you. Not sure what we're talking about today. Anyway, so we have our dialog closed here. Let's see, get rid of that. I'm trying to think what else we added in 7.2 here. So we have the changes to iNavigating Aware. That was a huge change, of course. We had the auto initialize changes, the alert dialog. Oh, actually, there is one other really a dialog lifecycle. Who's saying what are you thinking on dialog lifecycle? Color center, what? Yeah, guys. Yeah, I mean these are all great ideas for sure. Just let me know on appearing. Yeah, just create some issues on this. We can get some discussion around it. I don't know if we'll want to do the on appearing, on disappearing, primarily because there's no real need for it. We're definitely not going to do it async. I can tell you that right now. But you know, for your life cycle, it may not be called on appearing, on disappearing, but you have on dialog opened, which would be the same thing. This is Ultra Lord. So you have on dialog open, which would be the same as on appearing, on dialog closed, which is the same as on disappearing. So you basically have your life cycle already. On dialoguing too, really? Wow. You want to animate the dialogue. Okay. Well, if you have thoughts on how you would like to do it, I'm certainly open to doing that. I don't know that would. I would hope it's a joke, Chase. You know, I really need to get Alan's bot that he has that'll just automatically close all of the questions so I don't have to. And then, you know, it's so much more efficient. It closed an issue on me in 3 seconds flat. So you guys think I'm mean. That bot is even worse. But yeah, so we have that. The other thing, which actually this project is kind of terrible for, so I'm not going to show it in here, is we made some pretty big improvements to modal navigation. So let me come in here and figure out Prism. Go to the sandbox. Let's look at the sandbox app because this is a better demonstration. Yeah, I had to turn that Twitch bot off. It was getting vicious, you know. So, but we have some big changes to the intelligence of the navigation service. So, I recently ran into this where I even forgot, you know, some of the little caveats on modal navigation where, I mean, yes, I know I'm explicitly opting into modal navigation when I'm navigating to, but it's a little ridiculous. I have to specify it kind of going back. So what we did, or what I did, was I went in and added, you know, some very specific logic that doesn't apply to forward navigation, but that does apply to backwards navigation. So that way we can, make some more intelligent decisions about should we use modal navigation while we're going back. So if you guys find a situation, with Prism 7.2 where you actually have to explicitly say, I want modal navigation going back, do let me know. I think we've covered all of the use cases for how that would work. So just as an example, we're looking at, is this page the, is the parent of this page a navigation page? And is it the root page of the navigation page? And is that navigation page, is its parent the application? Right? If it's not an application and it's not the detail of a master detail page, then we can assume that we want modal navigation. So it's gonna to give you a little bit better sample there. So let me see here. Let me run one of these things. I guess go to the Android one. So we'll deploy the Android Hello World. And Zultralord, please really don't go open up a ton of issues. I think I got it down to like 7. So once xamarin.forms gets the dialog pop-up feature, am I thinking about having a feature to be able to switch to using xamarin.forms dialogs, but still use Prism's interface for dialogs? Are you talking about the page navigation service, Andre? So if you're talking about the page navigation service, the short answer would be no, we're not going to do that. Okay, you're talking about the new dialog interfaces. So I'm not really sure I understand your question. So am I thinking about having a feature to be able to switch to using xamarin.forms dialogs? What dialogs, like... I mean, the only dialogues that xamarin.forms has is the alert and why am I brain farting now? The action sheet. Well, Zultralord, if you want support for the 5,348 issues, that's equivalent to a paid contract, then you're welcome to pay for said contract. That is exactly what you are able to do. Let's see here. Let's see here. My audio has a sound effect. Let me unplug my headphones. Maybe that's what's causing it. Okay. Oh, that pop-up thing. That's a terrible frickin' API. Hopefully, that just goes into the land of the dead and doesn't get merged until like xamarin.forms 80. Or they come up with something better. Yeah, he's referring to 1778. All right, let's see. Hey, it finally decided to deploy. Man, that first build is painful. Good Lord. Okay. So actually, this kind of gives me an ability to show a few things. So this select tab, this is actually using that XAML extension. So I can say, okay, I want to select tab C, and now we're on tab C. I want to select tab A. I go back to tab A. But let's say that I want to go to view B, right? And then I want to go to view C. And then I want to go back, right? So all of these things still work. But what if I want to go modally? I want to modally navigate to a page. So now I modally navigated to view A, right? Well, in doing so, I don't have the control to go back. So I'm kind of stuck here, right? Well, I can now say I want to go to view B. Maybe. Okay, there we go. So I'm inside of a new navigation page, right? And that's why I have this title bar. So I'm going to say I want to go to view B. I want to go to view C. Okay, so now I have my master detail page that had a navigation page with a tab page as the root. And then I navigated modally with a navigation page that had view A as my root. I've now navigated to view B and view C. And so, there's a little bit of complexity in how all of that works, right? So this is now smart enough, though, to realize, okay, so view C is within a navigation page. So we're not going to use modal navigation because view C is also not the root page of the navigation page. So when I hit go back, I go back to view B. When I hit go back again, I go back to view A. But now when I say go back from view A, which is within a navigation page that is modally navigated to from that master detail page, we're going to go back to the master detail. And so that is something that you could not do previously without explicitly saying that you wanted to use modal navigation. So that now works without issue. You don't have to tell it anything. It just works. So I hope that made sense to everyone. I know navigation, especially when you start talking about modal, non-modal navigation, everybody gets very confused. So if you do have questions on that, let me know. I'm happy to try to answer that. I hope it all made sense. I went through it kind of quick. So, interesting. Everybody got very quiet. It's like, I'm not sure if that means I explained it well, or you're all trying to figure out how you're going to use this now. I'm not sure what that means with you guys anymore. Let's see here. Of course, we do have our dialog demo. So, just to kind of show this off, just so you can see kind of what we were doing. Bring that down so you can see more of the XAML here. So I have this nice long label coming in from the resources here, and then I have a whole bunch of buttons in here. And so our first button, we're using the XAML extension, and you'll notice that we have a single parameter that I'm passing in with a binding to a test message from my view model. And so if we click on this, you'll see that we did get the dialog that we were kind of showing before, right? We're looking at all the dialogue. So we can see that this is a sample message from a binding in the view model. So we got that message being passed automatically for us. Now our single parameter, So this was actually using another thing I don't think I talked about. I talked a little bit about some of the new parameter stuff, but this is one of the various new XAML extensions that we have passed that we've created. So you can actually just, if you have something like this, you have this nice, beautiful XAML extension, and you're all good there. And then if you wanted to be more explicit, you like the verbosity of doing something like this, you can do that as well. That is also supported. So I'll do a single parameter. And so again, you'll see that we got our sample message from a binding in the view model. And I'll go ahead and dismiss that. And now we have our multi-parameter dialog. And so for the multi-dialog or the multi-parameter, so now we're actually passing in the title. And I think this might kind of go back to some of the questions before about like, well, what if you have a property that you didn't pass in, right? So like in these first two cases, I had a default, right? So when I come in here, I have a default title of message, and I only want to update that from the parameters if it existed, right? So when I come in here to my multi-parameter, you'll see that instead of being message, it's now success because we passed it in from the parameters. I did mention before I'm lazy. So if you go and look at the view model, it does implement I auto initialize. And then if we come over here, we'll see that we have our show dialog demo with the query string. And so in here, we've got our demo dialog. We pass in the message. And then we've also got this close on background tapped. And so we'll go ahead and we'll do that. So now we have the query string, so we can see the query string is all supported in here. And then the last one, so we kind of showed before when I looked at the view model, and I guess let me kind of come in here. So when we looked at the view model before, if you hit the tab key when a dialog is displayed, what happens with the focus? What do you mean, like tab key on the keyboard, Andre? So anyway, so we had that can close dialog before, and before I was just returning true, like I had no logic on there. But that's not always going to be the case. Maybe you have a dialog that is like, do you agree to our terms and conditions with the new checkbox that they're coming out with? And if that's what you have, you could quickly find that you have issues where you need to validate that checkbox is indeed checked, or you have like a switch or something that's toggled on. So in this particular case, I have a form, and I want to make sure that the name is not empty, and that we at least have 2 characters. So now I can do that, right? And so if we don't have a name that's at least 2 characters, which I think is about the minimum, if you have someone named like Bo or something like that. So we have to enter something in here. And so, in fact, let me enter Bo. So, okay, so the name is now Bo. And, oh, it's greater than 2 characters. So, so I'll just I guess we'll put my name. So now I can actually hit the submit, right? Because we have that same lookup with our delegate command and everything. What if the dialog has a cancel button, right? So if the dialog has a cancel button, there's nothing new for you to do, right? You need to implement a command for the cancel button that handles that scenario, right? So my submit, it's looking for, it's looking for this, changes on the property name, right? But one of the things that I can certainly do is override all of this and say, hey, maybe I need a property of like is canceled, right? So my can close would have this, or is canceled. And then I can request close, right? So you need to make sure that can close dialog is going to return true before you raise the request close. That's really the only key. But you can have 100 buttons on there. So as an example, one of the various things that you could do is you could have an action sheet that is done with Xamarin.Forms. That's going to give you a more customized look and feel than the very bland native control that you get from Xamarin.Forms. So you get that nice styling and everything, but you get the same concept of the action sheet where you pass it some sort of message with a list of options that the user can select. And then what you're really doing is you're either passing back null if you had a cancel, right? Or you pass back whatever the value of the button was. So you can do all kinds of things that you want to do. And that's where this very lightweight interface is, I think, really amazing, because it gives you the flexibility to do whatever you want to do. You're not boxed in like you typically would get. So yeah, we can just bring that up and we'll see. Okay, if I hit submit and I entered Dan, right? So this is, of course, is like the very boring default Xamarin.Forms dialog or alert dialog. It is a little bit amusing that I'm using the dialog service to end up triggering the page dialog service, but again, this is just the sandbox for proof of concept and everything. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I know we've been going about an hour and 45 minutes. That's all I really have. There's lots of cool stuff, I think, in here. If anybody has any questions, let me know. But otherwise, that's pretty much all I have. I know you guys have raised a few really good ideas around some additional styling and things with the dialogue. So please do feel free to create some issues around those, and we'll make sure that we either discuss them or merge them as needed. So. Let me see here. Actually, I guess one of the things we could even do while I'm on here and while I've got this up and running, so we were talking about that dialog layout, and where is it? Oh, yeah, in here. So I think you guys wanted, what was it, the can close. So we can just read only can close, or what is it? I want to keep naming consistent. Close on background tapped. So we'll kind of create this bindable property, create attached. Or actually, we're going to make that a nullable bool. So, and then we're going to say that the default is null. Okay, so now that's there. Oh, I guess I need to cast that as a bool there, right? And let's see here, dialog service. So we can Like I said, we can... Oh, actually, I do have this as a constant. It is actually in the dialog service. See, I'm not entirely dumb. So hide on background tapped. So I'm trying to remember here. I believe we said that did we want the dialog layout to be the default, or I guess what we could do. So by default, that's going to return false, right? So we can say if not, right? So if we didn't get the parameters, or if we didn't get the hide background tap from the parameters, we'll say a little verbose, but you know, it is what it is. So dialog layout, get close on background tapped. Oh, actually, I need to change that to a nullable bool. Okay. And then we're gonna, much as I hate nesting ifs, right? Dialog layout. So if it has a value, then we're gonna set this. Okay, then we'll actually set the value. Okay, so that should, I think, fix what you guys were asking for. And it's not hiding, it's closing. Okay, so that'll at least take care of that issue. That's an easy, like I said, that's an easy fix. If you have more, definitely on the layout parameters and stuff, let me know kind of what you're wanting to do there, and we can kind of go into that. Where is it? Overlay style. Yeah, so right now, I mean, I'm doing the position proportional as the layout flag. I'm a little bit opposed, but I guess it's not the end of the world. Actually, you know, as I'm thinking about this, you know, do we really want to expose the absolute layout flags? I don't know. I mean, I can. But yeah, open an issue for that. I think it was it Chase that that brought that up. Open an issue, and we'll kind of discuss how we want to handle that. We'll figure something out. Anyway, guys, I have got to run. We've been going about 2 hours here. So thank you for tuning in, and hope you guys have learned some new stuff. I hope you guys really like the dialog service. Be sure to download the latest preview and let me know what you think. Yeah, no problem, Danny. Thanks for tuning in. You guys have a great rest of your week, and I will catch you later. Bye. Hey, Dan here. Hope you enjoyed another wonderful episode. Be sure to hit subscribe and like so I can keep bringing you even more great content.